The grand piano sat forgotten in the east wing of the Henderson mansion, gathering a thin layer of dust that Sophia noticed each time she cleaned. The beautiful instrument seemed to call out to her, bringing back memories of her own music studies before life took an unexpected turn. Sophia had been working as a live-in maid for the Henderson family for just over 3 months, but she'd never seen anyone touch the piano. Mr. Henderson ran a successful tech company that had made him millions. But the mansion felt empty since his wife had passed away 2 years ago. The grief still hung in the air like a heavy curtain, especially in this wing where Mrs. Henderson had apparently spent much of her time. Mr. Henderson almost never came here anymore. His daughter, 8-year-old Lily, had been born blind. She spent most days with her private tutor or alone in her room listening to music through her headphones. Sophia often heard the classical pieces drifting from behind the closed door whenever she brought clean laundry or tidied up the girls' bathroom. Sophia had noticed how the little girl's face would light up whenever music played. Unlike her father, who wore his grief like armor, Lily seemed to find escape in melodies. There was something about the child's quiet resilience that touched Sophia's heart. One Tuesday afternoon, while Mr. Henderson was away on a business trip, Sophia was dusting the east wing when she heard hesitant piano notes. Curious, she followed the sound to find Lily sitting at the grand piano, her small fingers exploring the keys with gentle pressure. "That sounds nice," Sophia said softly, not wanting to startle the girl. Lily jumped slightly, but then smiled in the direction of Sophia's voice. "I'm just playing around. I can't really play, but I like how it feels." Sophia stepped closer. "My mother taught piano lessons when I was growing up. I studied for almost 10 years before what?" Lily asked when Sophia's voice trailed off. Sophia sighed. "Before we couldn't afford lessons anymore. My dad got sick and I had to start working instead of going to college for music like I'd planned." Lily's hand reached out into the air, and Sophia moved forward to take it. The girl's grip was surprisingly strong. "Could you play something for me, please?" Sophia hesitated, glancing at her watch. She still had the dining room to prepare for dinner. But something about the hope in Lily's face made it impossible to refuse. "Just one short piece, okay?" She sat beside Lily on the bench and positioned her fingers on the keys. It had been nearly 3 years since she'd played properly, but her muscles remembered. She chose Debussy's Clair de Lune, keeping her touch light so the sound wouldn't carry too far through the house. Lily sat perfectly still, her face tilted toward the sound, her expression one of complete wonder. When Sophia finished, the girl applauded with enthusiasm. "That was beautiful, like raindrops and moonlight together," Lily said, her unseeing eyes wide with excitement. "Could you teach me to play like that?" Sophia bit her lip. "I don't know, Lily. Your father has very specific ideas about your education. I don't think piano lessons are part of his plan." "He doesn't have to know," Lily whispered, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. "We could practice during your lunch break or after you finish your work. Please, Sophia. I've always wanted to learn." Sophia knew she should refuse. Mr. Henderson was a demanding employer who expected his household to run with military precision. If he found out she was teaching his daughter behind his back, she'd certainly lose her job. And jobs weren't easy to come by these days, especially ones that provided room and board along with a decent salary. But there was something in Lily's hopeful expression that reminded Sophia of herself at that age, the pure joy she'd felt when her fingers first created music. "Let me think about it," Sophia said carefully. For 3 days, Sophia thought of little else. She watched how Mr. Henderson interacted with his daughter, always caring but distant, as though afraid to get too close. He made sure Lily had everything she needed materially, the best tutors, special books, adaptive technology. But what the girl clearly craved was connection, something to call her own. On Friday, after finishing her evening duties, Sophia knocked gently on Lily's bedroom door. "Who is it?" called the girl's voice. "It's Sophia. May I come in?" She found Lily already in her pajamas, sitting cross-legged on her bed with headphones around her neck. Classical music played softly from the speaker on her nightstand. "Is that Chopin?" Sophia asked. Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Nocturne in E-flat major. It's my favorite." Sophia sat on the edge of the bed. "I've been thinking about your request about the piano lessons." The girl's face lit up immediately. "And?" "If we're going to do this, we need some ground rules. Sophia said, trying to sound firm despite the excitement bubbling up inside her. First, it can only be when your father is away or in his office with the door closed. Second, we practice at very specific times so it doesn't interfere with your regular studies or my work. Lily was already nodding before Sophia finished speaking. Yes, I promise. When can we start? Tomorrow morning. Your father has that video conference call that usually lasts 2 hours, and Mrs. Parker won't be coming for your science lesson until the afternoon. And so their secret arrangement began. Every moment they could steal, they spent at the piano in the East Wing. Sophia started with the basics, hand position, finger exercises, simple scales. She was amazed at how quickly Lily learned, her sensitive hearing picking up nuances in tone that many beginners missed. For Lily, the piano became a window into a new world. For Sophia, it was like rediscovering a part of herself she thought she'd left behind. My mother loved music, Lily told Sophia during their 3rd week of lessons. Dad says she played all the time before she got sick. Sophia guided Lily's fingers to the correct keys as they worked on a simple melody. Is that why there's a piano here? It was your mother's? Lily nodded. Dad couldn't bear to get rid of it, but he doesn't like hearing it played. He says it reminds him too much of her. Sophia felt a pang of guilt. If Mr. Henderson knew what they were doing, he might see it as a betrayal of his grief. But watching Lily's face as she successfully completed a scale, her expression one of pure accomplishment, Sophia couldn't bring herself to stop their lessons. As the weeks passed, Lily's progress was remarkable. She practiced whenever she could, sometimes just moving her fingers in the air above her lap, playing an imaginary keyboard while Sophia described the correct finger positions. By the 3rd month, Lily could play simple versions of several classical pieces. Her favorite was a simplified arrangement of the Chopin nocturne she loved so much. Sophia had written out the notes in large print for herself, and then verbally guided Lily through each section, patiently repeating until the girl's fingers found the right keys by memory. Do you think my father would be proud if he heard me play? Lily asked one afternoon as they finished their lesson. Sophia carefully closed the piano lid. How could anyone not be proud? You've learned more in 3 months than most students learn in a year. But there was uncertainty in her voice. Mr. Henderson rarely spoke about his late wife, and the few times Sophia had mentioned music around him, his expression had darkened immediately. There was more to the story than Lily knew, Sophia suspected. Their lessons continued in secret. Sophia found herself looking forward to them as much as her student did. Teaching Lily made her remember why she'd fallen in love with music in the first place. Not for the recognition or applause, but for those perfect moments when the notes seemed to speak directly to the soul. One rainy afternoon in early spring, as Mr. Henderson was expected to be in meetings until evening, Sophia and Lily were deeply absorbed in practicing a new piece. Sophia had found sheet music in the bench for Moonlight Sonata, a challenging choice, but Lily had begged to try it after hearing a recording. That's it, Sophia encouraged as Lily's fingers moved slowly but confidently across the keys. Feel the rhythm, like gentle waves. They were so focused that neither heard the front door open nor the sound of footsteps approaching down the hallway. It wasn't until the door to the music room swung open that Sophia realized their secret was about to be discovered. Mr. Henderson stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable as the music abruptly stopped. Lily, unable to see her father but sensing the sudden tension, turned her face toward the doorway. "Dad?" she called, her voice small. "Is that you?" Sophia stood quickly, her heart pounding. "Mr. Henderson, I can explain." But his eyes were fixed on his daughter, whose hands still rested on the keys of his late wife's piano. The piano that had sat untouched for 2 years until Sophia had brought it back to life. In that moment, looking at his face, Sophia knew her time in the Henderson household had come to an end. The silence in the room was deafening. Mr. Henderson's face had gone pale, his briefcase still clutched in one hand as he stared at Sophia and his daughter seated at his late wife's piano. Outside rain tapped against the windows, the only sound breaking the terrible quiet. "Lily, go to your room," he said finally, his voice tight with controlled anger. "But Dad," Lily began, her fingers still resting on the keys. "Now." The single word left no room for argument. Sophia gently helped Lily stand from the piano bench. "It's okay," she whispered, though she knew it wasn't. "We'll talk later." Lily's face was a mask of worry as she felt for her cane leaning against the bench. With practiced movements, she made her way across the room, passing her father without a word. Mr. Henderson waited until the soft tapping of her cane faded down the hallway before he turned his full attention to Sophia. "How long has this been going on?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Sophia straightened her shoulders. "About 3 months, sir." 3 months. He set his briefcase down and ran a hand through his hair. 3 months you've been deliberately going against my wishes for my daughter's education. With all due respect, Mr. Henderson, you never specifically said Lily couldn't learn piano," Sophia ventured carefully. His eyes flashed. "Don't play games with me. You knew exactly what you were doing or you wouldn't have kept it secret. You're paid to clean this house and look after Lily's basic needs, not to make decisions about her upbringing." Sophia felt heat rising to her cheeks. "I understand that, sir. But Lily has natural talent. She's learned faster than any student I've ever known. Music brings her joy and what do you know about what my daughter needs?" Mr. Henderson cut her off. "You've been here, what, 4 months? I've been raising her for 8 years through circumstances you couldn't possibly understand." The unfairness of his dismissal stung, but Sophia bit back her first response. She needed this job. But more than that, she didn't want to leave Lily without finishing what they'd started. "I know music is the first thing I've seen make her truly happy," she said softly. Something flickered across Mr. Henderson's face. Pain, perhaps, or recognition, but it was quickly replaced by resolve. "Pack your things. You'll have your final paycheck plus 2 weeks severance. I expect you gone by morning." Sophia felt as if the floor had dropped from beneath her feet. She'd expected a reprimand, perhaps, but not immediate dismissal. "Please, Mr. Henderson, at least let me say goodbye to Lily." "That won't be necessary," he said, already turning away. "Mrs. Winters will cover your duties until I find a replacement. I'll explain the situation to my daughter myself." "She deserves better than that," Sophia said, unable to keep the emotion from her voice. "She deserves to know why I'm leaving." Mr. Henderson paused at the doorway, his back to her. For a moment, Sophia thought he might reconsider. But when he spoke, his voice was final. "Good night, Sophia. I'll have a car ready to take you to the train station at 8. After he left, Sophia remained standing by the piano, too shocked to move. Outside, the rain fell harder, matching her darkening mood. How would she explain to Lily? Where would she go with so little notice? And how could Mr. Henderson not see what these lessons had meant to his daughter? With heavy steps, she made her way to her small room in the staff quarters. She had little to pack, some clothes, a few books, photographs of her family back home. As she folded each item into her suitcase, the reality of her situation sank in. Jobs were scarce, especially live-in positions with decent pay. She'd been sending half her salary home each month to help with her father's medical bills. Without this job, her family would struggle even more. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Opening it, she found Lily standing in the hallway, still in her day clothes despite the late hour. "You're leaving, aren't you?" the girl asked immediately, her face turned up toward Sophia's. "I heard Dad on the phone with Mrs. Winters." Sophia gently pulled her inside and closed the door. "Yes, I have to go," she admitted, guiding Lily to sit beside her on the bed. "Your father isn't happy about our piano lessons. It's not fair." Lily's voice cracked. "You're the only one who doesn't treat me like I'm made of glass. The only one who lets me try things for myself." Sophia put an arm around the girl's thin shoulders. "Your father loves you very much. He's just trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need someone who believes in me." Tears spilled from Lily's unseeing eyes. "Please don't go, Sophia. I'll talk to him. I'll make him understand." "I don't think that will work this time, sweetie." Sophia squeezed her gently. "But I want you to keep practicing. Promise me that? Even if it's just in your mind, remembering the keys, feeling the music." Lily nodded, wiping at her tears. "Where will you go?" "I have a cousin in the city," Sophia said, though she hadn't spoken to Tina in months and wasn't sure if her small apartment had room for a guest. "I'll find another job. Will I ever see you again?" The question hung in the air between them, and Sophia didn't have the heart to lie. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I'll never forget you, Lily Henderson. You're going to be an amazing pianist someday." They sat together in silence for a long moment until Sophia remembered something. She reached into her nightstand drawer and pulled out several sheets of paper. "I wrote down all the finger positions for the pieces we've been working on," she explained, pressing the papers into Lily's hands. They're in large print, so maybe your tutor can read them to you. And I've included some new pieces for when you're ready." Lily clutched the papers to her chest. "I'll practice every day," she promised, her voice fierce with determination. "And someday I'll play a real concert and you'll be there to hear it." Sophia smiled through her own tears. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." After Lily reluctantly returned to her room, Sophia finished packing, though sleep eluded her for most of the night. By morning she was exhausted but resolved. She would find her way forward somehow. Mr. Henderson was nowhere to be seen when the car arrived to take her to the station. The driver, Luis, who had worked for the family for years, loaded her suitcase into the trunk with a sympathetic expression. "The little one will miss you," he said, as they drove down the long driveway. "She doesn't connect with many people." "I'll miss her too," Sophia replied, watching the Henderson mansion grow smaller in the side mirror. The train station was crowded with morning commuters. Sophia found a bench to wait for the next train to the city, her mind racing with plans and worries. She'd need to find temporary housing, update her resume, start applying for jobs immediately. The severance pay would only last so long. She was so lost in thought that at first she didn't notice the black luxury car that pulled up to the curb. Not until the back door opened and Mr. Henderson himself stepped out, scanning the crowd until his eyes found her. Sophia stiffened as he approached, unsure what more he could possibly have to say. His face was drawn as if he too had passed a sleepless night. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the empty space beside her on the bench. She nodded, too surprised to speak. Mr. Henderson sat, his expensive suit out of place among the everyday travelers. For a long moment he said nothing, just watched the trains coming and going. "Lily refused to eat breakfast this morning," he finally said, his voice low. "She told me she's going on hunger strike until I bring you back." Despite everything, Sophia felt a smile tug at her lips. "She's stubborn, like her mother." Mr. Henderson sighed heavily. "Elizabeth, my wife, played that nocturne every evening before bed. For years it was the last thing we heard each night. After she died, I couldn't bear to hear it again. I couldn't even look at the piano." Sophia remained silent, sensing he had more to say. "Last night I checked the security footage," he continued, surprising her. "I watched weeks of recordings. Watched my daughter smile more than I've seen since her mother passed. Watched her learn and grow under your guidance." He turned to face her directly. "I was wrong, Sophia. I let my grief blind me to what Lily needs." "Which is what?" Sophia asked carefully. "Music. Connection." He shook his head. "The very things I've been avoiding because they remind me too much of Elizabeth." A train whistle blew in the distance. Sophia felt suspended between her old life and whatever came next, waiting to see which way the scales would tip. "I'd like you to come back," Mr. Henderson said finally. "Not as a maid, but as Lily's music teacher. Properly employed, with a contract and benefits. She has talent, you were right about that. She deserves the chance to develop it." Sophia stared at him, certain she must have misheard. "You're offering me a job? Teaching Lily piano?" He nodded, a hint of his usual businesslike manner returning. 3 afternoons a week to start. You'd have your own apartment above the garage, not the staff quarters, and a salary commensurate with your qualifications. "I don't have a music degree," Sophia pointed out. "I never finished college." "You have something more valuable," Mr. Henderson replied. "You have my daughter's trust. And now you have mine as well." The train pulled into the station, doors sliding open. It was Sophia's moment of decision. The city and all its uncertainty in one direction. The Henderson household with its own challenges, but also the chance to continue what she'd started with Lily in the other. "When do we start?" she asked, her answer clear in her smile. The apartment above the Henderson garage was small but charming, with windows that caught the morning light and a view of the garden. For Sophia, after months in the cramped staff quarters, it felt like a palace. She had spent the weekend moving in, arranging her few belongings and the new items Mr. Henderson had insisted on providing. A comfortable bed, a small dining set, and most surprisingly, an upright piano. "It's not the grand from the East Wing, but it will do for your own practice," he'd explained when the delivery men brought it up the stairs. "Consider it part of your employment package." Now Monday morning, Sophia sat at this piano, running her fingers lightly over the keys. In just 3 days, her life had transformed completely, from maid to music teacher, from hiding in the East Wing to having scheduled lessons in the main house, from fearing Mr. Henderson's disapproval to having his explicit support. She still couldn't quite believe it. At precisely 10 o'clock, she made her way across the garden path to the main house. Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper who had temporarily taken over Sophia's former duties, opened the door with a thin smile. "Miss Lily is waiting for you in the music room," she said, her tone making it clear she found the whole arrangement unusual. "Mr. Henderson has moved the grand piano from the east wing to the sunroom. Said it deserved to be somewhere with better light." Sophia thanked her and headed toward the sunroom, a beautiful glass-enclosed space at the back of the house that she had cleaned countless times. Never had she imagined giving piano lessons there. Lily was already seated at the bench, her fingers dancing across the keys without pressing them, practicing silently as Sophia had taught her. When she heard footsteps, her head turned toward the sound, a smile breaking across her face. "Sophia, you came back." "Of course I did," Sophia said, sitting beside the girl. "I promised we'd continue your lessons, didn't I? Dad says you're my real teacher now, not just the maid." Sophia heard the question behind the statement. "That's right. Your father has hired me specifically to teach you music." Lily's fingers found Sophia's arm, squeezing it tight. "I knew he'd understand eventually. I told him how important the piano is to me." "Your father loves you very much," Sophia said carefully. "Sometimes adults make mistakes because they're trying to protect the people they care about." "He was trying to protect himself, not me," Lily replied with surprising insight. The music reminded him of Mom, and that made him sad. Sophia was saved from having to respond by the appearance of Mr. Henderson himself at the sunroom door. He looked different somehow, more relaxed than Sophia had ever seen him, dressed in casual slacks and a sweater rather than his usual business suit. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said. "I thought I might sit in on the lesson if that's all right with both of you." Sophia glanced at Lily, who was practically bouncing with excitement on the bench. "Of course," Sophia replied. "We're just getting started." Mr. Henderson took a seat in a wicker chair near the piano, his posture stiff but his expression open. Sophia turned her attention back to Lily, trying to ignore the pressure of being observed by her employer. "Let's begin with the piece we were working on last week," she suggested. "The Moonlight Sonata." Lily placed her hands in position, took a deep breath, and began to play. Her touch was hesitant at first but grew more confident as she progressed through the familiar opening bars. The notes filled the sunroom, bouncing off the glass walls and surrounding them with sound. From the corner of her eye, Sophia could see Mr. Henderson's face. He sat perfectly still, his eyes fixed on his daughter's hands moving across the keys his wife had once played. There was pain in his expression, yes, but something else too, a kind of wonder, as if seeing Lily for the first time. When the piece ended, the final notes lingering in the air, Mr. Henderson was the first to break the silence. "That was beautiful, Lily," he said, his voice rough with emotion. Lily turned toward her father's voice, her face glowing. "Really, you liked it? Your mother would have been so proud." He cleared his throat. "I should let you get back to your lesson. I have some calls to make." He nodded to Sophia and left quickly, but not before she caught the shine of tears in his eyes. The lessons continued 3 times a week as planned. Sophia found herself settling into a new routine. Mornings spent preparing lesson plans, afternoons teaching Lily, evenings practicing on her own upright. It was a far cry from the exhausting physical labor of her former position, and much closer to the life she had once dreamed of before financial reality had intervened. Lily's progress was remarkable. Her natural talent, combined with her exceptional hearing and memory, allowed her to advance quickly. By the end of the first month in their new arrangement, she had mastered pieces that would challenge students with years more experience. "She's extraordinary," Sophia told Mr. Henderson during one of their weekly check-ins. "I think she could benefit from more challenging material." They were sitting in his home office, a room Sophia had previously only entered to clean. Now she sat across from him as a professional colleague, discussing his daughter's musical education. "Whatever you think is best," he said, surprising her with his trust. "I've been doing some research on blind pianists. Did you know there have been many successful ones throughout history?" Sophia nodded. Lily could certainly join their ranks with the right training. Mr. Henderson leaned forward, resting his elbows on his desk. "I've been thinking. There's a prestigious music academy in the city. They offer special programs for gifted children. Would that be something worth considering?" Sophia felt a mix of emotions at the suggestion: pride in Lily's abilities, excitement at the opportunities such a program might offer, but also a twinge of worry that she might lose her position if Lily studied elsewhere. "It's definitely worth looking into," she said carefully, "though Lily might benefit from more time developing her fundamentals before entering a formal program." Mr. Henderson smiled slightly, as if he'd read her thoughts. They also offer teacher training courses for instructors working with visually impaired students. "Oh," Sophia said, understanding dawning. "That would be incredibly helpful. I thought perhaps you might be interested. The courses meet on weekends so they wouldn't interfere with Lily's regular lessons." Sophia stared at him, speechless for a moment. "You'd be willing to invest in my education?" "I'm investing in my daughter's future," he replied, though his tone was kind. "And you're now part of that future." The change in Mr. Henderson over the past month had been subtle but unmistakable. He still worked long hours, still ran his company with the same exacting standards, but he had begun to spend more time at home. Sometimes Sophia would arrive for Lily's afternoon lesson to find father and daughter having lunch together in the kitchen, or sitting in the garden talking about books. And occasionally, he would appear in the doorway of the sunroom during their lessons, listening quietly before continuing about his day. 6 weeks after Sophia's new position began, Mr. Henderson approached her with an unexpected request. "There's a charity event next month," he explained as they walked together from the main house after Lily's lesson, "for an organization that supports families with visually impaired children. I've been on their board for years, but I've never been very involved beyond financial contributions." "That's a wonderful cause," Sophia said, wondering where this was leading. "They're hosting a benefit concert. I've offered to have Lily perform." Sophia stopped walking, surprised. "A public performance? That's a big step. Too big?" His expression was concerned. "I don't want to push her if she's not ready." Sophia considered the question seriously. Lily had the technical skills to perform a simple piece well, and her confidence had grown tremendously in recent weeks. But a public concert was very different from playing in the safety of home. "I think she could do it," Sophia said slowly, "with proper preparation. But it should be her choice." "Of course," he agreed immediately. "I wouldn't dream of forcing her." "But if she's willing," he hesitated. "Well, I thought perhaps you might help her prepare a special piece. And maybe, if you're comfortable with the idea, the two of you could play something together as well." Sophia felt her heart skip. She hadn't performed publicly since her school days, before her family's financial troubles had derailed her musical ambitions. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. "I'd be honored," she said simply. When they presented the idea to Lily later that afternoon, her reaction exceeded even their expectations. She not only wanted to perform, she had specific ideas about what pieces would best showcase her abilities, and immediately suggested they compose something original for the duet. "Something that tells our story," she said excitedly, "about how music brought us all together." Over the next few weeks, the Henderson household revolved around preparation for the concert. Lily practiced with fierce determination, sometimes for hours beyond her regular lessons. Sophia worked with her on managing performance anxiety, on recovering gracefully from mistakes, on channeling nervousness into expressive playing. Together, they composed a simple but moving duet that incorporated themes from Lily's favorite classical pieces while adding original elements that reflected their journey from forbidden lessons to public celebration. Mr. Henderson, for his part, found himself drawn more and more to the sunroom during these practice sessions. Sometimes he offered suggestions from an audience perspective. Other times he simply listened, a quiet witness to his daughter's growing confidence and skill. The night before the benefit concert, Sophia found him sitting alone at the piano after Lily had gone to bed. His fingers rested on the keys, not playing, just feeling the smooth ivory beneath his fingertips. She would have loved seeing Lily like this, he said without turning around, somehow knowing Sophia was there. Elizabeth always said music was the purest form of expression, that it could say things words never could. Sophia moved to stand beside the piano. "Lily plays with her heart. Everyone will hear that tomorrow." He nodded, finally looking up. "Thank you, Sophia, not just for teaching her to play, but for helping me remember how to listen." His hands lifted from the keys. "I'm going to check on Lily. Big day tomorrow." As he left, Sophia sat at the bench, marveling at how a simple secret, a maid teaching piano to a blind child, had grown into something that was healing not just Lily, but her father too, and perhaps in some small way Sophia herself. Tomorrow she would perform again, something she had once thought lost to her forever. Life, it seemed, could sometimes play the most unexpected and beautiful melodies. The morning of the charity benefit arrived with golden autumn sunshine streaming through Sophia's windows. She had barely slept, her mind racing with last-minute worries about the performance. Would Lily remember all the changes they'd made to their duet? Would the unfamiliar piano at the venue throw off her sense of the keys? Would stage fright overwhelm her despite all their preparation? Sophia's phone chimed with a text message. It was from Mr. Henderson. Lily's been up since 5 a.m. practicing finger positions in the air. Should I be concerned? Despite her nerves, Sophia smiled. She texted back, perfectly normal pre-performance jitters. Tell her to save some energy for tonight. When she arrived at the main house, she found Lily sitting at the kitchen counter in her pajamas, eating cereal with one hand while the fingers of her other hand tapped out rhythms on the countertop. There's my star performer, Sophia said. Setting down her bag, Lily's head turned toward her voice, a mix of excitement and anxiety on her small face. I think I forgot the middle section of the Clementi piece. My brain feels all fuzzy. Sophia sat beside her. That's just nerves talking. Your body remembers even when your mind gets cloudy. Trust your fingers, they know what to do. Mr. Henderson entered the kitchen looking surprisingly casual in jeans and a sweater. I've taken the day off, he explained, noticing Sophia's surprised glance. Thought we could all use a relaxed day before tonight's excitement. Can we run through the program one more time? Lily asked, pushing away her half-eaten cereal. After you finish breakfast, Sophia said firmly. Musicians need fuel. They spent the morning with a gentle practice session, focusing more on calming techniques than drilling the pieces. Sophia had learned from experience that too much last-minute practice could do more harm than good. Remember, she told Lily as they worked through a breathing exercise, mistakes happen to every pianist. The audience won't even notice most of them. Just keep going and stay in the moment. By early afternoon, Sophia sent Lily to rest, knowing the evening would demand all her energy. While the girl reluctantly went to her room, Sophia and Mr. Henderson finalized arrangements for the evening. The organizers called this morning, he said as they sat in his home office. Ticket sales have exceeded their expectations. There will be over 300 people there. Sophia felt her own stomach tighten at the number. We should probably keep that detail from Lily for now. He nodded agreement. The local paper is sending someone to cover the event as well. Apparently the story of a blind 8-year-old pianist is quite compelling. She's not a curiosity, Sophia said quickly, protective instinct flaring. She's a genuine talent. Mr. Henderson's expression softened. I know that. And everyone else will too once they hear her play. He paused, studying Sophia's face. You're nervous too, aren't you? About performing again after so long. Sophia hadn't expected him to notice, much less mention it. A bit, she admitted. It's been years since I played for anyone outside a practice room. Well, I have complete confidence in both of you, he said with unexpected warmth. Elizabeth used to get terribly nervous before performances too. She said the day she stopped feeling butterflies would be the day she stopped caring about music. It was the first time he had voluntarily shared something so personal about his late wife. Sophia wondered if this was another sign of his healing, being able to speak of Elizabeth without that shadow of grief overwhelming his features. The hours seemed to fly by. Before they knew it, it was time to dress for the evening. Sophia returned to her apartment to change into the simple black dress she had purchased for the occasion. Another first, as she hadn't owned formal wear in years. When she returned to the main house, she found Mr. Henderson in the foyer, handsome in a dark suit. Checking his watch, is Lily ready? Sophia asked, smoothing her dress nervously. Mrs. Winters is helping her with her hair, he replied. She should be down. Ah, here she is now. Sophia turned to see Lily descending the stairs carefully, one hand on the railing, the other holding her cane. She wore a pale blue dress that made her look older somehow, more poised. Her dark hair had been arranged in an elegant twist with small white flowers woven throughout. You look beautiful, Sophia said, her voice catching slightly. Lily beamed in the direction of her voice. So do you. she said with absolute certainty despite her blindness. "I can tell by how your voice sounds." Mr. Henderson cleared his throat, clearly emotional at the sight of his daughter. "The car is waiting. Shall we?" The drive to the concert hall passed in a blur of last-minute reminders and reassurances. Lily sat between Sophia and her father in the back seat, her small hand clutching Sophia's with surprising strength. "What if I can't find the pedals?" she whispered, a new worry surfacing. "What if the bench is too high?" "I'll walk the stage with you before anyone arrives," Sophia promised. "We'll make sure everything is comfortable." The venue was a medium-sized auditorium attached to the city's community arts center. Mr. Henderson had arranged for them to arrive early, giving Lily time to acclimate to the space and test the piano. As promised, Sophia walked with her across the empty stage, helping her count steps from the wings to the bench, guiding her hands to explore the shape and feel of the grand piano. "It's bigger than ours at home," Lily observed, running her fingers lightly over the keys without pressing them. "But the keys are the same," Sophia reminded her, "just like we practiced." Gradually, the auditorium began to fill with people. Peering through the curtains, Sophia saw well-dressed patrons taking their seats, programs in hand. Many were families with children, some using white canes or wheelchairs, the community that this charity served. Backstage, Lily sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, her face turned toward the murmur of the gathering audience. Mr. Henderson stood nearby, alternating between checking his phone and glancing anxiously at his daughter. "It's almost time," he said finally, coming to stand beside them. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" "Like my heart might jump out of my chest," Lily admitted. "But Sophia says that's just the music wanting to come out." He smiled, kneeling to be at her eye level. "I want you to know how proud I am of you. No matter what happens out there tonight, even if I mess up, even if every note is wrong, which it won't be." He squeezed her hand. "You've already accomplished something remarkable just by being here." A stagehand approached to tell them there were 5 minutes until the program began. Sophia took a deep breath, centering herself. She would play a brief solo piece first, then introduce Lily for her solo, and finally they would perform their duet together. "Ready?" she asked Lily as the announcer's voice welcomed the audience from the stage. Lily nodded, her expression transforming into one of determination. "Ready?" Sophia's solo piece passed in a haze of focused concentration. Her fingers found the familiar patterns, muscle memory taking over despite her nerves. The audience applauded warmly when she finished, but their reaction barely registered as she turned to the microphone. "It is my great honor to introduce a remarkable young pianist," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "In just a few months, she has mastered pieces that take most students years to learn. Please welcome Lily Henderson." There was a moment of hushed anticipation as Sophia walked to the wings, where Mr. Henderson waited with Lily. He squeezed his daughter's shoulder once. Then Sophia took her arm and guided her to center stage. The audience's collective intake of breath was audible as the small figure in blue made her way carefully to the piano bench. Sophia helped her get settled, adjusted the bench height and whispered, "All yours now." Just like at home, then she stepped back, heart pounding as Lily placed her hands on the keys, took a deep breath, and began to play. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, her mother's favorite, filled the hall. Lily's touch was delicate yet assured, her expression one of complete absorption. Sophia watched from the side, barely breathing, as the girl who had started with secret lessons in a dusty East Wing now commanded a concert stage. Mr. Henderson stood beside Sophia, his eyes never leaving his daughter. "She plays just like Elizabeth," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. As the piece progressed, Sophia could see the audience leaning forward in their seats, captivated not just by the novelty of a blind child playing, but by the genuine musicality of the performance. When the final notes faded, there was a moment of reverent silence before the applause erupted, growing into a standing ovation as people rose to their feet. Lily sat perfectly still, a smile spreading across her face as the sound washed over her. Sophia hurried to her side, leaning close to whisper, "They're giving you a standing ovation. Everyone is on their feet." "Really?" Lily whispered back, her face glowing. "Even Dad?" "Especially your dad," Sophia assured her, guiding her to stand and face the audience for a bow. As the applause continued, Sophia took her place beside Lily for their duet. This was the moment they had worked toward for weeks, their original composition that told the story of how music had transformed 3 lives. With a nod to each other, they began to play. The piece started with Sophia's part alone, representing the maid cleaning the dusty east wing, discovering the abandoned piano. Then Lily's notes joined in, hesitant at first, then growing more confident as the melody developed. The middle section became more complex as the 2 parts intertwined, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in counterpoint, their secret lessons, the discovery, the separation. The final section resolved into a triumphant, joyful theme that incorporated elements of the nocturne, bringing their story full circle. As they played the final chords together, Sophia caught a glimpse of Mr. Henderson in the wings, tears streaming unashamedly down his face. This time, the audience was on its feet before the last notes had faded. Lily reached for Sophia's hand, squeezing it tightly as they stood to acknowledge the applause. In that moment, standing under the bright lights with music still echoing in the air, Sophia felt a certainty she had never expected to feel again after giving up her dreams of a musical career years ago. This was where she belonged. Not just as a teacher or performer, but as part of this unlikely family that had found its way back to harmony through an old piano and a child's determination. As Mr. Henderson joined them on stage, enfolding Lily in a proud embrace, Sophia knew that whatever came next, more performances, formal music education, new challenges, they would face it together, their lives forever changed by a secret that was now a celebration. The morning after the charity concert, Sophia woke to the sound of her phone chiming with notifications. Blinking away sleep, she reached for it and was astonished to find dozens of messages from old friends, former music teachers, even her cousin Tina, whom she hadn't spoken to in months. All of them saying variations of the same thing. Just saw the video of you and that amazing blind girl. When did you start teaching? She's incredible. Confused, Sophia scrolled through her messages until she found one with a link. She clicked it and found herself looking at a video titled Blind. 8-year-old piano prodigy stuns audience. It had been posted just after midnight and already had over 50,000 views. Someone had recorded Lily's performance of the Chopin Nocturne and their duet, uploading it to a popular video sharing platform. The comment section was filled with amazed reactions, from musicians praising Lily's exceptional ear to parents of visually impaired children expressing gratitude for the inspiring example. Sophia's phone rang in her hand. Mr. Henderson, have you seen it? He asked without preamble when she answered. Just now, she replied, still watching the view count tick upward on her screen. I had no idea someone was recording. Apparently several people were. The charity's social media coordinator posted the official version last night with our permission, but there are at least 3 other angles circulating. His voice held a mix of pride and concern. The local news station called this morning. They want to interview Lily for their Inspiring Neighbors segment. Sophia sat up straighter. That's wonderful. How does Lily feel about all this attention? She's over the moon, he admitted with a chuckle. Currently eating breakfast while Mrs. Winters reads her the comments people have left on the video. I've never seen her so excited. Sophia smiled, imagining Lily's face lighting up with each new reaction. She deserves it. She works so hard. The thing is, Mr. Henderson continued, his tone turning more serious, this is just the beginning. The director of the Music Academy called personally this morning. They want to offer Lily a place in their gifted program, with special accommodations for her visual impairment. Sophia felt a complicated mix of emotions, pride in Lily's opportunity, happiness for the recognition of her talent, but also a twinge of worry about what this might mean for her own position. That's an amazing opportunity, she said carefully. It is, he agreed. But before I even consider it, I wanted to talk with you. You know Lily's abilities better than anyone at this point. Do you think she's ready for formal training in a competitive environment? The question surprised Sophia. She had expected him to simply inform her of decisions already made. I think she has the talent, she answered thoughtfully, and certainly the determination. But she's also still a child who's just beginning to build confidence. The right environment would challenge her to grow. The wrong one might overwhelm her. My thoughts exactly, Mr. Henderson said, which is why I'd like you to come with me to tour the academy later this week. See the facilities, meet the instructors, help assess whether it's the right fit. Sophia found herself speechless for a moment. You want my input on this? Of course, he replied, as if it were obvious. You're her teacher. And more than that, you understand her in ways I'm still learning to. After they hung up, Sophia sat on her bed, staring at the video that was now approaching 100,000 views. 6 months ago, she had been a maid stealing moments to teach a child piano in secret. Now she was being consulted on that child's musical future by one of the wealthiest men in the city. Life took the strangest turn sometimes. The next few days passed in a whirlwind. There was the television interview, where Lily charmed the reporter with her earnest descriptions of how music painted pictures in her mind. There were congratulatory flowers delivered to the house, including an enormous arrangement from Mr. Henderson's company board of directors. There were calls from music educators across the country, offering advice and resources for teaching visually impaired students. Through it all, Sophia and Mr. Henderson worked together to shield Lily from feeling overwhelmed, maintaining her regular schedule as much as possible, and ensuring she had quiet time away from all the excitement. On Thursday, they visited the music academy. It was an impressive facility in the heart of the city, with practice rooms equipped with top-quality instruments and instructors who had performed with major orchestras. The director, Dr. Chen, personally gave them a tour, explaining how they had successfully worked with students with various disabilities in the past. We believe talent should be nurtured regardless of physical limitations, she told them, as they sat in her office. Lily would have an individualized curriculum, with lessons adapted to her needs while still challenging her to reach her full potential. Mr. Henderson asked thoughtful questions about scheduling, performance expectations, and how they would ensure Lily wouldn't feel isolated as the only blind student. Sophia inquired about teaching methods, what adaptations they could offer for music notation, and how they handled competition between students. As they were preparing to leave, Dr. Chen turned to Sophia. We were very impressed with your playing in the video as well. Ms. Reyes, your technique is exceptional, especially considering your unconventional path. Have you ever considered continuing your own education? Sophia blinked in surprise. It's been years since I thought that was possible. We have an adult program for promising musicians whose training was interrupted, Dr. Chen continued. Several of our most successful instructors came through that program. If you're interested, I'd be happy to discuss scholarship options. On the drive back to the Henderson house, Sophia was quiet, turning the unexpected offer over in her mind. Mr. Henderson seemed to sense her contemplation. You should consider it, he said, finally breaking the comfortable silence. You have extraordinary gifts as both a pianist and a teacher. Sophia glanced at him. I can't imagine how I would manage it. Between teaching Lily and my other responsibilities, we could adjust your schedule, he interrupted. Reduce your hours with Lily to accommodate your own studies. Perhaps even arrange for some of your teaching sessions to count as practical experience for your program. You've given this some thought, Sophia observed. Surprised. He nodded, keeping his eyes on the road. Since last night, actually. After Dr. Chen contacted me about Lily, I did some research on their adult program. I thought it might interest you. You did research? For me? The realization was both touching and slightly overwhelming. Mr. Henderson's hands shifted on the steering wheel. You changed my daughter's life, Sophia. You helped me remember what it means to truly support her dreams instead of just protecting her from disappointment. He glanced at her briefly. I'd like to do the same for you if you'll allow it. When they arrived home, Lily was waiting impatiently for their report on the academy. They sat together in the sunroom, the late afternoon light streaming through the windows, as Mr. Henderson described the facilities and Sophia explained the teaching approach. So I'd have different teachers? Lily asked, her forehead creasing with worry. Not just you anymore. You'd have specialized instructors for different aspects of music, Sophia explained gently. Theory, composition, performance techniques. But I'd still be involved in your education, and we wouldn't make any decisions without your input, Mr. Henderson added. This would be your journey, Lily. We're just here to help you navigate it. Lily's fingers tapped thoughtfully on her leg, working through an invisible piece as she often did when processing complex information. Would I still live at home? Absolutely, her father assured her. You'd attend classes several times a week, but this would remain your home. And Sophia would still live here too? In the apartment? Mr. Henderson glanced at Sophia. That's up to Sophia, but I hope she will. Over dinner that evening, they discussed all the possibilities that had suddenly opened before them. Lily would start at the academy the following month, with a schedule that allowed for adjustment periods. Sophia would begin the adult program in the spring semester, with Mr. Henderson insisting on covering the costs not included in her scholarship as professional development. And most exciting to Lily, they would continue developing the musical foundation that had brought them all together, with plans for more performances, more original compositions, and even the possibility of recording an album of duets. I want other blind kids to know they can do this too, Lily declared as they finished dessert. Maybe we could give some of the money to that charity, so they can have their own pianos. That's a wonderful idea, Sophia said, touched by the girl's generosity. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Sophia found Mr. Henderson in the East Wing, in the room where she had first given Lily secret piano lessons. Though the grand piano had been moved to the sunroom, the room still held other mementos of his late wife, photographs, books, a collection of delicate glass figurines. He stood looking at a large portrait on the wall, a woman with Lily's same dark hair and bright smile, seated at the very piano that had changed all their lives. I've been hiding from her memory for so long, he said without turning around, somehow sensing Sophia's presence, trying to protect myself from the pain of remembering. But all I did was keep Lily from knowing part of her mother that should have been hers all along. It's never too late to change course, Sophia said gently. You're giving Lily that connection now. He turned to face her. Because of you. His expression was open, vulnerable in a way she had never seen before. I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't decided to break the rules that day, Sophia smiled. I've always believed music finds its way to the people who need it most. If it hadn't been me, it would have been someone else. I don't believe that, he said with quiet certainty. Some people enter our lives at exactly the right moment, changing everything that comes after. You were that person for us. As Sophia walked back to her apartment under a sky full of stars, she reflected on the strange and wonderful path that had led her here. 6 months ago, she had been a maid with abandoned dreams, working to support her family. Now she was a respected teacher, soon to be a student again herself, part of a household that had become more than just a workplace. That weekend, she called her parents with her news. Her father, whose health had improved enough for part-time work, wept with joy at hearing she would return to music school. Her mother insisted on visiting to celebrate, bringing homemade food and happy tears. As Sophia watched Lily play for her parents in the sunroom, Mr. Henderson sitting nearby with a peaceful expression that would have been unimaginable months ago, she thought about the power of music to heal, to connect, to transform. The simple act of a maid giving secret piano lessons to a blind child had rippled outward, changing not just 3 lives but now touching thousands through that viral video. And who knew how many more might be inspired by Lily's journey in the years to come. Some might call it luck or coincidence. But as Sophia joined Lily at the piano for another duet, their fingers finding harmony on the keys that had once sat gathering dust, she preferred to think of it as music, working its own special kind of magic, the kind that could turn strangers into family and transform a house of silence into a home filled with possibility and joy.